So if you missed Onyx PathCon 2024, you missed that Curseborne's Ashcan, their demo version of the game, is currently out on DriveThruRPG. You can find an affiliate link to the Ashcan in a pinned comment down below. Curseborne is an urban horror game line created by Onyx Path Publishing. Its Kickstarter is going to be around October 2024. During the Curseborne panel, I like that the developers used a term called hope punk to describe the theme that they're trying to go for. It is a dark horror game, but you are trying to push for a better future, even if it's only for yourself and your found family. Hidden behind what we know the real world is are curses. Some are small, like crossing the path of a black cat will give you bad luck, but there are more powerful familial curses that are what define the accursed. These are things like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type curses, werewolf curses, being a vampire type curse, or even haunting your own dead body. The themes are very akin to a lot more of the modern horror movies and media that we're currently digesting. We have things like inspirational media from House of Usher, Haunting of Hill House, and Haunting of Bly Manor, just to name a few that got called out during the panel. The setting is the modern day real world, however, there's a dark twist to it. Urban legends and the supernatural are real, but hidden from humanity. Mortals are kind of predisposed to avoid the supernatural and usually deny its existence unless they're really just drawn right into it, as far as I can tell. A key feature of the setting is the outside, which is a sort of catch-all term for any realm that is outside of the real world. These are places that can be like the underworld, hell, heaven, and 1,000 of other unreal places. Some believe the outside is where curses and the supernatural come from. The accursed are able to visit them, though if they stay for long periods of time, they'll eventually mutate into inhuman entities that can no longer pass for being human. Liminalities, or I'm going to call them liminal spaces, are supernatural phenomena that occur when the real world bleeds into the outside. These can be places such as streets full of people with blank faces, or stuff like the back rooms, if you're familiar with that type of online horror story. Most liminalities are essentially sentient, haunted locations with goals and motivations that are very hard to discern. This doesn't mean they can talk to you, but there might be a liminal space that wants to scare people and then just toss them back into the real world for fun, or places that will feed on people who are trapped in them until they give up and die. Then there are battlegrounds, which are when the outside bleeds into reality, which is sort of the polar opposite of liminality. This is typically where entities from the outside try and meddle in the real world, and they often become places where the outcasts and other accursed wage battle with the outsiders. Accursed themselves used to be human, but whether through a curse they inherited or were afflicted with, they change into supernatural beings. It has been confirmed that you can curse people to turn them into accursed, but the mechanics of it haven't really been discussed. There are other supernatural creatures that aren't accursed, but they haven't really been introduced to us yet, and we haven't really gone into much detail except for a couple of antagonists in the Ashcan. Accursed come in 5 lineage flavors. These are your lineage roles that you would take during character creation. You have the dead, the hungry, the outcasts, the primal, and the sorcerers. Now, each of these lineages also have families associated with them, which are sort of more specific versions of the curse that the lineage has. So, for instance, the hungry have the Botherites. Their specific hungry condition is they need to bathe in blood. Let's keep going here. It's going to be a little bit complicated. I'll try and explain things as much as I can. The dead are people whose souls haunt their dead body because someone cursed them in life. If their body is destroyed, they can reclaim a corpse to be their new body. Part of this curse involves the need to indulge in the feeling of emotion so that they can feel alive again, and each one of the families has a different emotion they're associated with. The hungry are your vampire-like beings. They are undead but feed on various things such as ghosts, souls, blood, emotions, etc., in exchange for being near superhuman when it comes to, they have an ability to use their hunger as fuel to increase their charisma and their intelligence and their physicality. The outcasts are a human hybrid descendant of beings that were cursed into exile from the outside. The outcasts hide their true forms behind immortal guise. In actuality, they are more akin to angels and demons and fae instead of humans. Their curse basically involves revealing their true form, causing them to become disconnected with humanity, and needing them to reconnect with humanity in order to regain their sense of self. The primals are shifters, usually beings that switch between a human form and an inhuman form. This ranges from the animals to even more monstrous versions of humans, which are the Hydes. They fight an inner creature that compels them to act like the monster they truly are. And then you have the sorcerers, who are people with magical abilities. But the magic comes at a price. Usually they have to sacrifice something in order to regain control of their magical abilities. This can be something like, I need to sacrifice my possessions by burning them or tossing them or giving them away. Or I can even sacrifice my personal connections to people in order to regain my magical control by basically saying, I never talk to this person again, or maybe even, if you're willing, kill said person. Entanglement represents a character's ability to control and withstand their curse. At the moment, entanglement is limited to 5, but there are plans to increase the cap to 10 in the future, according to the Curseborne panel. Essentially, 1 to 5 is your normal character, whereas 6 to 10 is going to be your more high-level play character. Entanglement also dictates the maximum number of curse dice a character can have. You get a maximum of 5 curse dice for an Entanglement 1 character, which was clarified by the developers. 2 terms that you need to keep in mind are holding curse dice and bleeding curse dice. Holding curse dice means you have them on your character and you use them for your skill dice rolls, whereas bleeding them means that you are spending them for an ability, usually. Held curse dice replace your normal dice in any skill roll. For instance, if you have a might of 2 and a close combat of 3, you have a total of 5 dice, but 2 of those dice are going to be curse dice. Be sure to separate the curse dice from your normal dice, such as having them be different colors. You gain curse dice by fulfilling an obligation to your family or role path, giving in to your personal or lineage torment, when the entire crew comes together to solve a problem or deal with a situation, when entering a place of deferment, which is their term for a neutral ground, if you currently have no curse dice, and when exemplifying your family's themes. Now you can bleed curse dice, i.e. spend them, to cast practice spells, or to transfer to another character in a place of deferment. So for instance, if one of your friends is low on curse dice, you can give them curse dice. Practices are the categories of spells that are being used by the accursed. Spells have different power levels, and some are limited to specific lineages. From what I can tell, each lineage may interact with spells differently. For instance, a sorcerer might cast a spell like a wizard, but a primal might be thinking that their spell-like ability is an inherent ability to their primal nature. So it's not like everyone is casting spells by saying an incantation. It's usually a magical ability that is coming from the player character themselves. For me personally, I know what Storypath Ultra and the Storypath system is that Curseborne uses. So it's sort of saying, oh, I'm getting a new setting for a game system I already know. But it's more than that, because it has subsystems and things of that nature that you might not get from something like, say, At the Gates, which is a fantasy RPG, or They Came From, which is a more campy meta game, or Training Continuum, which is more sci-fi. If you don't like the Curseborne setting, I can point you to another bunch of settings that you would like if you still do like the underlying system. Now, if you don't like the underlying system, there's not much I can say. If you like Curseborne's setting, you could always buy the book and use a different system if you wish, something that you're more familiar with. But honestly, there's a lot of games out there, and I'm not going to force you to play Curseborne if you're not interested. I like the setting, I like the game system, so it's perfect for me. And I hope if you're just a little bit curious, you're willing to check it out in the link below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're still curious about Storypath Ultra, I did a video on it a little while ago, so check that out here. Shout out to our patrons for supporting the channel.